Hello YouTube. So a couple of days ago, Hoyo revealed new weapons that will be coming out in patch 4.1, and so today I'm going to be analyzing them and seeing how good they should be. Keep in mind, since I don't look at leaks, I'm only analyzing these weapons on currently existing characters, so it's entirely possible that these weapons will be good on upcoming new characters that aren't being covered in this video. But with that said, let's jump right into this. Just don't forget to subscribe to this channel. I put a lot of time and effort into theory crafting, so your support is greatly appreciated. Alright, so the weapons Hoyo revealed are a 5-star Catalyst, and a 4-star Sword, Claymore, and Catalyst. Let's start with the Catalysts. The 5-star one, Tomb of the Eternal Flow, is an 88.2% crit damage weapon, with a passive that increases HP and gives charged attack damage bonus when your HP changes, as well as restoring energy when this happens. The passive would be pretty nice, but being gated by HP change mechanic really restricts its potential, and none of the existing characters can trigger this for themselves. But let's see if the weapon is still good thanks to its high crit damage. The first character I have calculated this with is Wanderer. As we can see, if you hypothetically had a way to get max stacks of this weapon's passive on him, it would be his best weapon, assuming you do charged attack spam with it. And it would only be slightly behind his signature if you do N2C instead of CA spam. But we don't have a way to get its passive on him. Without its passive, it's basically just a weak or lost prayers, although it being crit damage means you don't have the risk of overcapping on crit rate with it that you do with lost prayers, so that can be pretty nice. Also, if you notice, I also calculated the 4-star Catalyst Ballad of the Boundless Blue on Wanderer. Its passive is really nice for Wanderer, but the problem is its main stat is for some weird reason energy recharge, and that isn't what we want on Wanderer, so it ends up being a lot worse than even an R1 would Sith, so there's really just no reason to ever use it. I didn't calculate Ballad on any other character because the only other character I could imagine this possibly being good on is Yanfei, since her damage comes from charged attacks, and she actually wants ER since her energy needs are pretty massive. However, I don't have any calcs for Yanfei, so I wasn't able to check that. The next character I calculated Tomb of the Eternal Flow on is Klee. On Klee, once again, we see that if you could fully stack its passive, it would be her best weapon, although not by much. But without the passive, it is a bit ahead of Woodsith and slightly behind Lost Prayers. So it's not great on her, but if you don't have Lost Prayers and also don't want to deal with Woodsith RNG and uptime issues, this could be worthwhile for her. Then I also calc this weapon on Yai. Don't take the damage from Yai here literally. This is her with Aggravate, but without any buffs at all. I didn't account for teammates with her because her teams are highly variable. But as we can see, this weapon is just not good on Yai, being very far behind both Woodsith and Kagura. Those are all the characters I calculated this weapon on. Overall, it's not a bad weapon, but it's not particularly good for existing characters. Assuming the weapon is worthwhile for upcoming characters though, then it could be a decent stat stick if you can slap that you can slap onto any Catalyst DPS. If we get a way to make its passive more usable, then its value could go up quite nicely, especially on Wanderer. Now let's talk about the Claymore, Portable Power Star. This weapon has an HP percent main stat and gives the wielder 3 stacks from healing. Once 3 of these stacks are obtained, they will be consumed and the character wielding the weapon will get Elemental Mastery and refund some energy. At R1, this will be 120 EM and 6 energy, and should be 240 EM and 12 energy at R5. So, who is this good on? Nobody. The only HP scaling unit in the game is Dia, but her Claymore HP scaling unit, is Dia, but her HP scaling is absolutely pathetic, so you do not want to use an HP weapon on her. And for a support Dia, just use Favonius or the Aquamarine Claymore. The only good thing about this weapon is its name and its drip. As for the One-Handed Sword, the Dockhand's assistant, this is the exact same as the Claymore, except this one actually has some good use, since there are actually worthwhile HP scaling sword users. One character I considered this on is Kuki, since 240 EM is higher than what you can get from any weapon with an actual EM main stat for swords, and her healing would be improved by both the HP and the EM. However, the passive only lasts for 10 seconds, so it would be down for like a third of her uptime, and you would also have to use her on-field long enough to get healed by herself 3 times. That, or have another healer on the team. So I would not recommend using this weapon on Kuki. Another HP scaling sword character is Nilu. The EM from it should be useful for her since almost all the damage in her team comes from Bloom, but I'm not sure how many Blooms she herself actually owns in her team. I don't have any Nilou math of my own because she's not a character I have any desire to attempt doing math for, but if you want good information on this weapon with Nilou, I recommend watching Jamie's video on this weapon with her. And also be sure to subscribe to Jamie's channel. He has quality theory crafting and very good gameplay on his channel. Now for an HP scaling sword user that I do have math for, is my waifu, Layla. Both Layla's shield and damage scale with HP, and something that not many people seem aware of is that Layla actually has very good sub-DPS potential, specifically in teams with long enough rotations and flexible field time to allow her to use her skill and burst twice per rotation. So I did math for this, comparing this weapon for both her damage and her shielding. Starting with her damage, keep in mind the damage for Layla here is with her only buffed by Kazuha, and her damage would be a lot higher if Shenna's buffs were also included. I also assumed the first cast of her burst doesn't get Kazuha buff due to its snapshotting. So a large part of why Layla has good sub-DPS potential is because she is an HP scaling sword unit, meaning she can use Harbinger of Dawn for massive crit value without the low base attack hurting her. Harbinger of Dawn is the highest crit value weapon in the entire game. That is so valuable that even if you build Layla on full HP artifacts, Harbinger is still doing more damage than Doc, even if you use both a Cryo Cup and Crit Circlet with Doc. So if you are using Layla in a team where you care about her damage contribution, stick with Harbinger. As for shielding, as we can see, her shield can be pretty significantly stronger with the Doc. So if you are using Layla in a team where you just care about her shielding and not her damage at all, Doc can be quite nice. However, in a team like that, you may prefer to just use Favonius to provide some additional support to the team, and you can still get plenty strong enough shield with Favonius anyway. If you want a balance between a strong shield and good damage, use Harbinger. Also keep in mind that the Nilou weapon, Key of Kajnis Jute, or whatever that thing is called, is always going to be better than Dockhand. I just didn't calculate it. Lastly, I calculated Dockhand for Kirara for her shield. I didn't look at her damage with it because unlike Layla, Kirara doesn't actually do any worthwhile damage. So I compared her shield using Favonius and using Dockhand. Dockhand has her on triple HP while Favonius has her on double HP and a crit circlet. Also keep in mind that I have her on Deep Wood here, so her shield would be stronger if your team has another Deep Wood soldier, so you can use Kirara on 2 HP instead. But as we can see, the shield is pretty significantly stronger with Doc. And unlike Layla, the team's Kirara is used as a support in generally aren't very likely to need the energy support from Favonius. So if you use Kirara regularly and you don't have Ki, you may want to consider picking this weapon up for her. And yeah, that is all of the characters I calculated these weapons on. Once again, keep in mind that I only took into account currently released characters because I don't look at leaks. It is entirely possible that these weapons will gain value with upcoming characters. But with the characters that we currently have, the 5-star Catalyst is okay, but pretty underwhelming. 4-star Catalyst is useless. Claymore is useless. The sword actually seems fairly decent, just not particularly amazing. So, if you liked today's video, please be sure to give a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Please also feel free to leave a comment below letting me know your thoughts. You can also join my Discord where you can communicate with me and others in our little community. Thanks. Bye.